Welcome back to a new episode of the Leading Yourself podcast. Let me ask you something. Do you feel that you've been in a rut lately? Do you feel that you're not having fun as you used to? Or maybe that you're just going through the motions through the day and then you go to bed and then you ask yourself, what did just happen? Do you feel like you're running from one thing to the other and feeling that time is flying by and you're not getting to do the things that you really want to do? Or that you're just busy but you don't feel fulfilled? Well, if you can relate to any of these things, you want to continue to listen to this week's podcast episode because I'm going to share with you the one secret that is going to help you feel fulfilled again, to live a purposeful life and have a purposeful career. Let's dig into today's podcast episode. Welcome to the Leading Yourself podcast. This is your host, Carolina de Arriba. I'm an HR professional, health and fitness coach, wife, mom, and above all things, a goal-getter. In this podcast, we're going to be digging into all things leadership, professional and career development, habits, and relationships. This is a podcast for those who want to become the best version of themselves. Those who have big dreams and are willing to embrace the journey and put in the work to achieve them. My goal is to share with you the tools, tips, and tricks to help you in your journey. So let's dig into today's episode. No, I did not oversell today's podcast episode on the introduction. Today, I'm going to reveal to you the one thing that if you do and you do consistently is going to help you feel fulfilled, is going to help you be more present, to focus on the things that bring you joy and happiness and bring the fun back to your day-to-day life. And go to bed feeling like you did something, that you made an impact. You will actually remember what happened in your day at the end of the day. I hate when that happens, that I go to bed and I start thinking about my day and I can't remember the details of my day. The dates blur one with other and it feels like time is just going by too fast and we sometimes lose of track of time and things that are happening. Well, today we're going to uncover the secret to live a purposeful life and career. So, what is that secret? I'm going to cut to the chase and then I'm going to unbundle it to you. The secret is intention, the power of intention. Yes, intention. And I'm going to share with you how you can be more intentional every day so you can feel more fulfilled and have a more purposeful life and career. This is why I say that intention is the secret, is because, as we were saying before, we go by the day and we're just busy. We run from one thing to the other. We have so many distractions during the day that we really just go through the motions. And at the end of the day, doing that just leaves us empty. We're just spinning our wheels. We're running and running and running. And then we look down and we've just been running in place on a treadmill. I was feeling like that a few months ago. I didn't realize how bad it was. I didn't realize how much I was just going with the flow and letting things happen as they came and wake up every day and do the same things every day. And work wasn't fun anymore, and life was kind of boring, working from home and doing the same things every day, and then go to bed and wake up the next morning and just do the same things over and over again. I felt like I was in meetings and I was just going through the motions, like whatever this meeting brings, let's get it done. And I would get it done for sure, but I wasn't as present as I really wanted to be. And then I started to focus on intention. And I'm going to share with you how I use intention to give purpose to my days, to my meetings, to my interactions, to my life, to my career. It has been a game changer in the last couple of months. So here's how I do it. Every Sunday, I take some time to plan my week. And I try to think about all the things that are happening in my week. I look at my calendar. I make sure that all the important things are scheduled. And I'm not going to get into a time management here. I cover all of this in a previous podcast episode, and I'm more than happy to do more episodes around productivity and time management. That's not the topic of today. But that being said, on Sundays, I plan my week. And one of the things that I do is that I look at my calendar and I make sure that my priorities are scheduled in my calendar, both work priorities as well as personal priorities. All the things that are important are in my calendar. And I take a look at my calendar and I think and visualize how I want my week to go. What is going to be my intention this week? How do I visualize myself going through the week as looking at all the things that are in my calendar? How am I showing up? How am I eating? How am I moving my body? How am I interacting with my kids and my husband? And how I am showing up at work, or how I am reaching out to friends or family? I try to visualize my entire week. I also try to visualize what are the things that might go wrong, or what are the things that might, throw me off during the week. When you look at your calendar, sometimes there are obvious things like having back-to-back meetings all day. So I'm very intentional on Sundays to make sure that I build in a couple of breaks throughout the day, that if I have an important meeting, I have at least a 15-minute break before that important meeting so I can just decompress, refill my water bottle, have a bio break, and be ready for that important meeting and on time. There are simple things like that. Or when I look at what's going on with my kids and how I want to be intentional with my kids, how does that look like this week? Is it dropping my daughter at the bus stop and maybe playing a game on our way there? Or is it playing games in the evening or doing homework with them? However that looks like, right? But I try to visualize it. I try to set intentions for my week. How do I want my week to go? When I say setting intentions, basically what I'm doing is I'm being intentional about how I want my week to go. I'm being proactive, and instead of letting my week dictate my life and how I feel and what I do, I am intentional about creating the feelings, the successes, the interactions, the things that I want to have in my life that week. So that is the very first level of intentionality. And that's how I started. I started by setting intentions for the week. Sometimes I even write it down, and I write down, okay, what are my key intentions this week? I want to be present with my kids. I want to be fully present in meetings at work. I want to deliver on this big project. I want to connect with a friend, things like that. What I found is that Mondays, I started really, really strong. The Monday morning went really, really well. And I was feeling like on top of the world, on my A game. And then life started to happen. And I started to forget about those intentions. And I just got back to where I was before I started my intentional practice, going by the flow and letting the days and the meetings in my calendar control my day. Then I thought to myself, okay, maybe I just need to do this every day. So every morning, if you have been following along, you know that one of the things that I do as part of my morning routine is I plan my day. I look at my agenda, I kind of look through what is on my calendar that day, make sure that I'm ready for all the meetings that I have. I look at what things are due today that I want to make sure I deliver on. I even write on a post it note what are my three non negotiables for the day. Well, I started to also pay attention about my intentions for the day. I tried to visualize meetings that I was going to have and try to see myself in the meeting and try to set intentions as to how I wanted to show up during the day. What are the things that I wanted to make sure that I did that day? And then that became a kind of like multiple times during the day kind of thing. So anytime that I'm going to walk into a meeting, just very quickly in my mind, like it takes a minute. I swear it takes a minute. You don't have I know that the first thing that you're going to think or be thinking right now is, I don't have the time to do all of this. It takes a minute. But as I'm connecting to the Teams meeting, I'm thinking about, okay, what is the purpose of this meeting? How do I want to show up? What are the things that I want to say? What are the things that I don't want to forget about? How do I want others to feel in this meeting? See, I'm setting intentions for my next block of time during the day. And all of a sudden, I went from just going with the flow with being in control of how I felt during the day. If you have listened to recent podcast episode, I shared that starting yesterday, May 1st, I am starting this challenge that I call the I Choose Joy Challenge. Basically, for 31 days, I'm choosing joy, which means that every day I'm intentional about looking for things that bring me joy. And then at the end of the day, I'm sharing a picture of something that brought me joy that day. I went full in a podcast episode last week talking about why is that I'm doing this and how this simple practice changed my whole perception around the pandemic and how I felt during those months of the pandemic. And as I was looking at the memories of that challenge, because that functionality that Facebook has that reminds you of things that you posted a year, 2, 3, 5 ago. And it put a smile on my face. And then I asked myself, why did I stop doing this? And the reason is I stopped being intentional. I just took for granted that every day there was going to be something that brought me joy, and I stopped documenting it. I stopped being intentional about it. The same happens with fun. If you feel like you're not having fun at work, the only reason why you're not having fun at work is because you're not being intentional about having fun. And I know you might be saying, well, you don't know. I really hate my job. It's a really, really bad. And I cannot wait to get out of here. Well, let me tell you that, yeah, you can change jobs, but unless you learn to be intentional about having fun at work, you're going to find yourself in the same spot no matter in what company you go and work. You need to be intentional about creating those moments of fun. Same happens with our kids. If you are a parent and you work full time like me, one thing that always chases me is mom guilt. Well, it used to, until I started to be intentional. I'll give you an example. Last week, let me back up. Every day, my son carpools with a friend to school, and then I am now taking my daughter to the bus stop in the mornings. So last Friday, my son's best friend mom calls me in the morning and says, "Hey, my son is sick. I can still take Alex to school if you want to." And I'm like, "No, no, no, don't worry. I'll take him." And I was like, what a great opportunity to have some extra time with my son, take him to school, right? This was a last minute thing, so I could be upset about it. I was choosing to see the bright side on the situation and see, okay, I get to take my son to school today. I get to talk to him on the way to school. And I was very intentional about how I wanted that experience to be, that time that we were going to be together riding to school. I dropped my son to school, and then I took my daughter to before care at school. And when we got to school, there was a breakfast going on, like a breakfast event. And I look at my daughter, I start thinking, oh my God, I'm sure I have a meeting. I left my phone on the car. I couldn't tell. I'm like, but I'm sure I have a meeting. I can stay. And I started debating, like being on that dance, right? Between should I stay? Should I go? Should I stay? Should I go? I have a meeting. I probably should go. And then I look at my daughter and I told myself, time out. You need to be intentional right now. You have this amazing opportunity in front of you to spend some quality time with your daughter, some mom and daughter time, having fun, right? They had this paper tablecloths on the tables and crayons, and kids could like draw on the tables, and they had breakfast. So I just decided to stay with her, have breakfast together. I forgot about work for a few minutes. And we just had this amazing time together. It was so much fun. But the only reason why it was fun is because I was intentional about having fun. I was intentional about being present. I was intentional about spending quality time with my daughter. And then everything worked out. I made it back home on time for my meeting. I had a great meeting because I had enough time to prepare everything, set my intentions for the meeting, and I thought the meeting was great. And just like that, my day started in a really positive high note. And that translated into a great, amazing day. And the only reason why it was that great, amazing day, that fun day, that intentional day versus just any other Friday, right? Where I'm running from one meeting to the next and trying to get all the things done and pick up my kids from school and prepare dinner and rush and go to bed and wake up the next morning to start all over again. It was fun. It was positive. It was productive because I was intentional. Because I set intentions for every chunk of time in my day. And that made the whole difference. Is that easy? A lot of times we try to focus on these big things, on goals that we want to achieve, on dreams that we're chasing, on projects that we're working on. We're focused so much on achieving things, on being busy, not even being productive, but being busy during the day. We almost feel pride of how busy we are, that we forget to be present. We forget to be intentional. And intention is the secret to live a fulfilling life, a purposeful life, and a purposeful career. See, since I started doing this practice before every meeting that I have, my meetings are so much better. I feel so much more present. Like, I remember I was in a point in time that I was really, I would say, on a funk. And I didn't even realize that I was in a funk, but I would be in meetings and I would be like scrolling on my phone or reading emails while I was listening to the meeting. Now, I set intentions for my meeting. I visualize myself in the meeting. I visualize and set intentions on how do I want to show up? How do I want others to feel in this meeting? I set intentions to what I want the outcome of this meeting to be. And my meetings are so much more productive. Like, I get out of meetings and I feel like I actually accomplished something in that meeting. I feel like I actually connected with someone in that meeting. I feel like I actually was present and listening and paying attention. and I was able to positively influence a conversation or add value to that meeting, other than just being there because the meeting was on my calendar. Be intentional. Start small. Start by setting intentions for your week. Or maybe just focus on one thing in your day. Look through your calendar today or tomorrow and look at what is the most important thing in your calendar. What is the most important meeting, appointment that you have in your calendar? And take 2 minutes before that appointment, before that meeting, before that thing to just set intentions. To ask yourself, how do I want to show up in this interaction, in this meeting? How do I want to make others feel? What do I want us to accomplish in this meeting? And tell me how that goes. I think you will be surprised on the amazing power that being intentional has. See, the reason why you don't make traction with a goal, or the reason why you self sabotage yourself, or the reason why you give up on your goals, I've talked about this many times, is because we tend to feel overwhelmed. We have these big goals, or think about purpose. I hear people all the time talking about, I need to find my purpose. I feeling frustrated because they don't know what their purpose are, or feeling frustrated because their dreams and their goals are not coming to life. See, the way to start finding purpose, the way to start making progress towards whatever you want to accomplish, whatever you want to do, is to be more intentional. At the end of the day, our lives are the sum of the little moments that make every day. It's not the big things that brings us fulfillment. It's not the big accomplishments that make you feel alive. Of course, you're going to celebrate those things and you're going to work hard to accomplish those things. But at the end of the day, what is going to make you go to bed feeling fulfilled, feeling that you had a purpose that day, is being intentional about the little things, being intentional about the small conversations, being intentional about the little time that you have with your kids, or the meetings that you have at work, or the things that you do in your community. Those are the things that are going to bring you the most fulfillment. Life is not other thing than an accumulation of little moments. And talking about little moments, I want to remind you about our May I Choose Joy challenge. If you haven't heard to that podcast episode, please listen to it and join us in this challenge. It's very easy. We're being intentional about collecting joyful moments every day during this month of May. And I share on the podcast episode where I explain this challenge that at the beginning, it can be challenging, right? There's going to be days that you're going to go to bed and you're going to think, oh my God, I totally forget about the challenge. Let me think, scroll through my day and see, pick one thing that brought me joy. And there's going to be days that you're not going to find anything. Why? Because you just went through the motions of your day. So the secret to always have one moment at the end of the day that you can share that brought you joy that day is to start your day with intention. Start your day with the intention of creating a moment that brings you joy. Create a moment that makes things fun. Creating a moment that brings you fulfillment. Creating a moment that you can be grateful for. And I really, really hope that you join me in this challenge. Once again, I'm going to put a link on the show notes of this podcast episode. If you want to join the private Facebook group where I'm sharing additional resources on this challenge and where, you can share your moments of joy every day. and be in a community of people that are like you, chasing and collecting moments of joy where it's all positive and where you're going to feel inspired to create moments of joy for yourself. So really hope you join. Check out the notes on the show notes of this podcast episode. Okay, with that, I hope that you have an amazing day. Before I say goodbye, as always, please do me a favor, share the link to this podcast episode with one person that you think can benefit from today's content. I will see you here again next week for another episode of the Leading Yourself podcast.